Welcome to Brevard News, your home for real news in Brevard County. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. Today we have some interesting information, and we're here with Katie Delaney, who is running for County Commission Seat 1 and District 1, and also our friend Stel Bailey, who is editor of The Advocate, right?
Yes.
Online, and a great newspaper if you get a chance online to be able to check it out. Now, we have some information for you that we think that you really need to know about. Did you know that the Brevard County Fire and Rescue District Chief Johan Toro Colin retired, and that he's newly retired, or he's actually going to retire on May 29th? And there's a letter that he wrote that is going viral. If you haven't heard about it, you really need to hear about this, and we wanted to read it to you. This is his retirement notice, and notice what he says here. He says, "This serves as my official notice of retirement from BCFR, which my last day will be the 29th of May, 2024. I have truly enjoyed my career with BCFR, working alongside some of the best in the career field, in addition to making lifelong friends. However, it would be wrong of me not to mention that I have not enjoyed being a Brevard County employee." Now think about that. It is embarrassing and straight out criminal of the wages and the bare minimum benefits offered to its employees. I would not have imagined in 1999 that BCFR would become one of the worst paid professional fire departments in the state with no end in sight. We do not value our employees when we continue to ask and mandatory them to work an outrageous number of overtime hours just so they can make a livable wage, unfortunately taking them away from their families and that much more. Personnel are the greatest resource, not fancy trucks, and you would agree with that, right?
Right.
and not thank yous and well dones. Do not put food on the table. We do a lot of things right, but financially taking care of our members and their families is where we fail. Please feel free to forward this to County Manager. However, we all know he is the root of the problem and nothing will change. I hope that the last 25 years is not what the future holds for the sake of these young men and women starting their careers with BCFR. And wow,
That's so powerful.
wow.
That's powerful.
But it gets to the heart. I mean, we are
Mhm.
seeing symptoms after symptoms of what the problems are in Brevard County.
Right.
I mean, it's like the dike is really, the holes are developing in the dike all along the way, and you're beginning to see the underbelly of what's going on in Brevard
Right.
County. What do you guys think about this?
Well,
It's an embarrassment.
yeah.
It's an embarrassment for our county. They should be embarrassed.
Right.
I don't know how they are not sitting back thinking that this is okay. You've got city managers out here making $18,000 a month and we can't pay our heroes?
And we're losing a lot of
Right.
people to neighboring counties because of the pay in Brevard County. From what I understand, the fire department is actually just a training ground for a lot of the surrounding counties, right? So you've seen
Right.
this and you've been around it, right?
Oh, yeah. I've gone to the majority of the negotiation meetings, and I've spent a lot of time with the fire department, and it's it, it it doesn't even feel like real life, because the way that our guys and girls are treated in the fire department, um, they have no work life balance. Their quality of life is not great.
So they're being mandatory
Right,
overtime, so they're working quite a few
right.
hours, right?
So last week I actually was told that somebody was told 3 times in 2 weeks, no, you cannot go home. They are so undermanned that they tell people on a regular basis, you cannot go home after your shift.
So this is because of the pay, right?
Oh, yeah, I think that's part of the reason. I think it's because they're understaffed. I
Right.
also think because of the work environment. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that are taking place,
Right.
and I think it's disgraceful.
Mhm.
And like you said, it is the symptom of a much bigger problem.
Well, it's what we've been talking about, and you're beginning to see these cracks that are developing over and over and over again, and you're beginning to see a real picture of what's going on, not only in Titusville, which I think it is astonishing
Right.
the kind of corruption that people are willing to tolerate here, and now, as you see it in the county commission, right?
Right.
So you've been involved in some of these negotiations. what strikes you? Why is the county, so tell me now, we do pay property taxes
Right,
that goes to the fire department.
right.
What's the deal?
And
Why are they not able to get what they need?
we actually also have I believe it's a 1998 referendum that earmarks a certain amount of our money for the fire department. So that's my question. Where is all this money, and why haven't we been paying our people comparatively to our surrounding counties? We have some of the most incredible firefighters in the country. Our people win awards, and we're losing them to other areas because of the pay. They're having to work 80 to 100 hours to compare their salary to counties surrounding Brevard.
That's
It's
dangerous.
disgraceful.
So what do you think the problem is? Who's the problem? So he mentions the county manager. Is that fair game?
Oh, yes, I think that's fair to
Why?
say.
Why?
I do.
He's the decision maker.
Okay.
Yeah, he sets the budget at the direction of the commission. And so the commission has not prioritized our firefighters, and the county manager has not prioritized our firefighters. And, you know, I am a Republican, I am a conservative, but public safety, if we don't have public safety, it doesn't matter about anything else. If everybody's homes, catch on fire and there's nobody put it out,
But
we're in big trouble.
those are the basic things, and I don't think that there's anybody, conservative or liberal, who would not say that you want to take care of your infrastructure, you want to
Right.
take care of
Correct.
the services that you need, firefighters, police, but the fact that this is a problem, that you've been involved in the negotiations, so what do you see, where's the impasse coming? Why is there an impasse here?
They're just not willing to speak about money. The lawyer that the county hired, the outside lawyer that they're paying over $400 an hour for, they have not been given the green light to talk about wages, even though they promised. I was at the meeting when they promised that they would be talking wages at the April meeting, and they did not. And they said that they were not ready. And now they're saying that June they will be talking about it.
So what role does the county commission play in this? Where do they come in? I mean, do they have control over the county manager to
Right.
expedite this if they wanted to?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
you've got the citizens who are their bosses, and
Right.
they should be working for the people, and the people want them to take care of our men and women who are in the community, that are considered heroes, that are out there fighting fires, especially as of recently. We've had a lot of outbreaks and fires because we had a dry season. And they are, talking, they get to make the decision whether they go along with the city manager, or they go along with the attorney's advice, or they can make the decision to research this and ask questions and hold them accountable. And they've obviously not done their jobs if this is where we're at today.
So the question comes is that what are the consequences of this? I mean, if you have a guy that is working double shifts,
Right.
I mean, how effective is he going to be to
Right.
care for in emergency situations? I mean, is that a real question? And you talked to some of the firefighters. Have they raised that question?
I These people impress me like nobody else. Like, I don't understand how they have the capacity to do what they do, and they still do it incredibly.
Mhm.
And I mean, firefighting is just one piece of their job. 90% of the transport that goes on in Brevard is from Brevard County Fire Rescue. And so this is talking about people who have strokes, people, anytime you call an ambulance,
There's a
it's
truck.
our firefighters who show up, our paramedics, our firefighters. And
You certainly want to know that they are
right.
okay and they're happy, right?
Right.
They're
And that they
paid
have
well,
more
right?
than 5 minutes of experience.
Correct.
You
And
know?
and that's where a real problem is
Right.
coming in because of the turnover.
Exactly.
You don't have the experience that normally would be there in the county, right?
Yeah, it puts our safety at jeopardy here in Brevard County.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can see that. And so it's a part, this is a part of a larger picture, right? And we're seeing again a picture develop. We have problems with the county, and we saw it just last week, right? So you have Rockledge that is actually fighting with the county for 10 years now, right? To not cut down the trees in their neighborhood. And so I was at the meeting, one of the meetings, and I heard them talking about pruning the trees, and I thought, oh, well, I'm just cutting down a few branches,
That's what I
right?
do. I mean,
What could it be? Right.
And
So
nice
you prune them, right? Right.
to be
Right.
You're supposed to do it in winter because then you can get diseases and yeah.
Right. So now they don't, this looks more like butchering. It doesn't look like pruning. So they're negotiating with the county for 10 years, right, to try to negotiate this. Now, the meeting that I was at, they referenced Savannah. They also referenced Charleston, right? And they said, well, there are canopies in these cities and they've coexisted with the emergency vehicles and the communities. So why did the county commission deem it necessary
That's the number
to do
one
this?
question.
Why?
That is the number one question. And let me tell you, there are so many rumors flying. I don't even know why. If you go, there's different reasons. There's, oh, the roots are damaging this. There's a theory out there that allegedly it's to save the lagoon for septic to sewer. There's another rumor it's because of the electrical wires. There's another rumor because it has to do with a commissioner and his vendetta against somebody in the neighborhood. It's because they want to widen the roads. I mean, this goes on and on and on, and this is the type of confusion that they've created, that this commission has created.
Right.
Because I have never been given a real reason. I haven't seen one. Do you know of a real reason why they're cutting? Well, pruning. They're not really pruning.
It's not pruning. Okay, so you can go on Save the Oaks Rockledge and see the pictures for yourself. I saw the pictures before and after, and I've had haircuts that look mistake. It was really, I was really shocked when you see the pictures. I'm not an environmentalist or a tree hugger or anything like that. When I looked at those pictures, I'm thinking, this is butchering. I mean, is that hyperbole?
So I was actually out today. I went to Rockledge Drive and to talk to some of the citizens that live out there. And this is a special place for me personally. My husband grew up on that street, and we met when we were in high school. And so I have loads of memories on that street, and it's really special to a lot of people in this community. And
Can you say like how the citizens are feeling? Like you met with the citizens, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
How are they feeling?
They are actually. I mean, some of them are physically sick. Physically sick.
How did they endure this? I mean, were they there when they were cutting them down?
Yeah.
And what was the
Unfortunately.
response?
I mean, people were angry. People were sad. People were devastated. It's when you go down this street now, it's like a graveyard, and they cut off the whole tops of the trees, so it's literally just a trunk.
So there's some question that they're going to come back and they're not
Right.
finished. They're going to come back and cut down the tree trunks themselves, right? Is that
And they're
correct?
going to come get more trees.
Really?
They're not
Actually,
done.
they're not finished.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And they've already done some to the stumps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they've already taken, I think today I just counted probably 7 or 8 that were just down to the ground, and then there were 6 or 7 that were still, the trunks were still there, but they completely chopped off the tops of the trees, the canopy portion. And yeah, it's devastating.
So we've been telling you that the people, your government officials, are just not into you, right?
Right.
They're really not. Excuse me. It reminds me of a relationship with a boy and a girl, right? And you say, oh, wow, I know that they really care about me, but all of the signs are telling you, no, they're just not into you. And you see this with the county commission. They're supposed to be representing the people, and the people have been fighting with them with them over the last 10 years, and they don't care.
Right.
This is the result that you get.
Right.
It's,
So the horrible part is that a few years ago when Kurt Smith was on the commission, he actually said to the people, "You've won. We're done with this." And then lo and behold, everybody goes back to their lives, and
who revived it?
that is unknown. I mean, I like Stel said earlier, there's a lot of theories.
Unknowns, and I think that the people deserve clear answers, and I think that they should be held accountable, because how did this get revived?
Do you think it was a vendetta? I mean, you said that one of the
Well,
things was
one of the
a
theories
vendetta.
is a vendetta. That's how these theories get out there when you're not truthful with the people
Transparent.
and transparent.
Right.
you're going to have all kinds of theories and confusion, and you're going to have a very angry community.
Right.
People of the government,
Mm.
the representatives are supposed to be your servants. And again, you see, once again, that they believe that they are in control and you are the servants. And
The
this
thing about
typifies it.
this is, I get it that a lot of people don't live on Rockledge Drive or River Road, whatever you call that street. But it just shows the contempt that this commission and the county manager and the county attorney, what they have for the people, what their opinion is of the people. They don't care about our quality of life. They do not care. And if we don't start caring about who we elect, all of our communities are going to get affected.
Well,
Like
all
this.
up and down Brevard County.
Mhm.
Now, let me ask you, what role did staff play in this? Because when I was at the
Oh,
county commission meeting, the county commissioners was deferring to staff, and they were saying staff was giving their report about why the trees should be cut down,
right,
and it was all of the legalese, right?
right.
What role did they play? Did they just give the county commissioners cover, or what role did they play?
In my opinion, that's the role they play. Exactly what you said is they give them cover. It's like they're their bodyguards. It's their, if the commission wants something, the staff's going to figure out how they can get it. And they're going to find a way because from what I recall is that they tried this before and it was a different excuse of why they wanted to do it. They had so much pushback from the residents that it didn't end up happening. And then they tried something else. And so it feels like a game is what it feels
Right.
like. And you're on a chessboard against your government when in reality it should never be that way.
Well, you've seen that some of the county commissioners, at least the meeting I was at, really seemed very vindictive
Right.
in some of the things that they did, and that's really sad.
And
But
honestly, I feel like we may have a activist attorney on our hands. That's truly, I mean, the way that he has been allowing our commission to, how can they get so close to the line before they break the law? He helps them, he enables them, and that's not right. That's not what
well,
we
I
should be
a few months ago, some measure that she was involved in, and she said, "Well, it wasn't illegal." Well, is that the standard now? What about ethical?
Mhm.
What about it's not right?
doing.
Right? That you're supposed to be about representing the people.
Where's
Right.
the
So
integrity?
as long as you can go up to the line of it not being illegal, then it's fine, right?
Exactly. That's what
It's
they
really,
think.
go ahead.
That's what they think.
It's really sad. So now that brings us to Titusville, which again is sad.
Mhm.
So there's questions in Titusville. So you have the Titusville City Council, and so you have tyrants of the county government, and now you have their little tyranny going on in Titusville as well. What happened with the Titusville City Council this week? Well, let's start with the Environmental Commission because there was a lot of fireworks there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We actually had a
Mhm.
win. The citizens had
Yep.
a win. The TEC, the Titusville Environmental Commission, what they what they were proposing a few meetings ago was to remove the first public speaking opportunity in their meetings, and that's really not a good way to do it because it's great to get the citizen input prior to the conversation so that maybe they can incorporate some of those ideas into what they're talking about. And if
Maybe they were never planned.
right, and
Okay, I'm sorry.
well, I will say that the TEC has been one of the bodies that have worked the most with citizens. I feel like they've done a pretty good job, and
That's what I saw when I
yeah.
attended. I attended that meeting this past. It was my first ever meeting, and I was. They really thoroughly looked into each citizen's comments for the most part, and
Right.
that 5 minutes.
That's a
Right.
It's a citizens advisory. Yes,
Right.
it's different.
They're not
but-
elected.
Yeah, so we all spoke on it, but I don't even think we had to because every single person on that advisory board wanted to keep it except for one, which was the chairperson, and she was actually comparing it to the Brevard County Commission and how they got rid of the first 5 minutes and trying to kind of mimic what the county did.
Oh boy. And so it ended up that they dismissed
Right.
that proposal. Okay, so that was a win.
Definitely.
What
a
else
win.
happened at the environmental commission? Was that really the main thing that was on the list? Okay, okay. So now in the Titusville City Council, any wins there?
So A lot of us were trying to take a break. We didn't see anything on the agenda that prompted us to go. So this is where it gets interesting because they found a way to slip in a conversation about citizens had voted for this right to clean water in the city of Titusville, and they're not honoring the votes. And what happened is two council members, Council Member Nelson and Council Member Stokel, decided to have this back and forth conversation about how they were fear mongering, is what they were doing. They were trying to say, we need to have a real conversation with the citizens of Titusville and let them know that this is a really scary decision. That
Really?
yeah, that they don't know enough, that they're not smart enough.
So the
The
citizens, they didn't know,
yeah,
they
they
weren't
didn't
smart
know
enough
what
to be
they
able to make the right decision.
Right.
they didn't know what they
Right.
voted for.
Oh boy.
And they're even saying things like, we're going to go bankrupt as a city, and they're going to just go sue happy, like every citizen has thousands and thousands
Right.
of dollars to. And it was just so far from the truth. If you don't understand, we actually created a page that we're going to be sending out and publishing that addresses that misinformation. It's interesting because they're the ones putting out misinformation. And so we saw this happening. We always watched the video, and I started getting calls from people that were attending, and they were really upset, and they spoke, and it was a moment because the citizens are already extremely frustrated
Right.
that their vote is not being addressed. It's not being passed.
And
And they're
They-
being sued.
Right.
And they're
Right,
being
and they're being
sued.
sued by the. So this has actually gone almost. There was someone in Oklahoma that told me they heard about this. That Titusville now has this reputation nationwide that they have bad water and that they sue their citizens. It's just, how does this happen? And in a constitution where, again, let me say again, Civics 101, that the people are the government,
Right.
that the representatives are supposed to be the servants.
Exactly.
This has been inverted. And you see that. Now, why would you not adhere to a measure that passed by over 80% by the citizens of Titusville, unless you think that they didn't know what they were talking about, right?
I was just going to say arrogance.
Yeah, it is. It seems like
Arrogance.
really more arrogance, hubris, because they're looking down on people with contempt. And you just continue to see that. I mean,
Right.
am I wrong, or is
I
that what you
continue to
say?
see like this condescending attitude across the county in certain government bodies where you're right, they look down on the citizens. They act like the citizens aren't up to their standards. And the reality of it is the citizens need to know that the government works for them.
Supposed to be.
They're supposed to be that way. And we need to take our power back. And until we take that power back, we're going to continue having rogue commissions and rogue city council members who continue to do things like chop trees down and not certify votes. And people should not be okay with this. And there are three particular people on that council who have voted to continue suing the citizens.
So that's Sarah Stone, that's who else? Nelson, Jolene Nelson, and also
Herman Cole.
Herman Cole. And so,
Originally, Dan Diesel, he voted twice to. I
Right.
believe Robert Jordan, when he was on the Titusville City Council, he was the one who made the initial motion. I'm pretty sure.
And I think that's really important information to know because do you really want to keep putting people back in that are voting against your rights, basically?
Right.
I mean, the citizens took this initiative and they got it done. And if the government was actually doing it the way it's supposed to go, where they're collaborative and they're working with the people and they're helping the people,
Correct.
that initiative probably would have never happened.
right, should have worked together, and it wouldn't have ever gone to that point. So what's coming up this week with Titusville? Anything on the agenda this week in Titusville that we need to be concerned about?
Not with Titusville.
So it's a quiet week, and then with the county commission, we have what coming up?
So the county commission, there's actually a few things on the agenda. There's the Live Local Act, which we've talked about a lot. The commission has the opportunity to be exempt from the tax breaks for those SB 102 projects, and we want them to vote to exempt us from that because.
What's the implication?
So basically, it will stop the tax cuts for those projects. And like we've talked about many times on this podcast, they could get a 75 to 100% tax break, these developers. And that would be horrible for our community. And the implications of that would be horrible because our infrastructure is already failing. We need this tax
They
revenue.
need to contribute.
Right.
If they're going to continue burdening our
Right.
infrastructure, they need to contribute to the infrastructure. I don't know. That's a good question.
I hope so. I mean, it would, in my opinion, it would be political suicide if they didn't.
So what can the people do to make sure it passes?
Well, you can always email your commissioners. I always recommend emailing all of them, not just yours. And if you'd like, you could show up 9 a.m. at the County Commission building on Tuesday
It's in Vieira.
in Vieira.
Mhm.
Why
And
don't
They-
is that by design?
I don't know. They do 9 a.m. and then they do 5 p.m. Then they do 9 a.m. But it's
Right.
very difficult to get there at 9 a.m. But I
Yeah.
think this is a really important issue
It is.
that people need to get down there. And then I think there's going to be, during public comment, maybe some people talking about the tree situation in Rockledge.
So would that limit also the implementation of the Local Act if they cut will that by de facto kind of put a block
Hopefully.
in it, right? Because if there is no incentive, right, to get the tax deductions, then many of your builders are not going to be incentivized to actually come and to build, right? So
There are still incentives because they get to the density. They get to have more density still, even though they don't get the tax breaks. They still get to
Build higher.
right? Build
Okay.
higher and have more units. So there is still investment opportunity for these developers to come, but it won't burden the taxpayers so much because their tax breaks are our tax hikes.
Mhm.
So they need to pay their fair share to help us with that infrastructure.
okay, that's this edition of Brevard News. And I want to close with our quote, and then I want to give my 2 cents. So, our quote for the week is this from Franklin Roosevelt, and it's really on point with what we've been talking about. Let us not or never forget that government is ourselves and not an alien power over us. The ultimate rulers of our republic, and I'm glad that he said that, it's not a democracy, it's a republic, are not a president or senators and congressmen and government officials, but the voters of this country. You are the ones in charge. And so, my 2 cents on it, the people of America have forgotten who they are. It is not the politicians that are the rulers of this great society. It is you, the American people. Our Constitution is different from any other on the face of this earth. It puts the power of governance in the hands of the people over tyrannical rulers. Our government throughout Brevard County is under siege by men who are ignorant of this fact. It is time that you, the people of this great county, let the politicians know that it is you who are the power brokers of this county. Brevard County will never be free until our county is freed from the tyrants that are ingratiating themselves at the behest of the people. It's you that are going to change this. And that's my 2 cents. Hey, we're thankful for joining us. We're glad that you joined us again for another edition of Brevard News. Be sure to like, subscribe, and to share our podcast. Thank you. You have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next Sunday.